Something strange has started happening here on the homestead. Strange here is a bit of an exaggeration because it actually happens every year, like clockwork. It's just that for some reason, I'm always caught by surprise. It's that time of year where the leaves on the trees have started changing color and falling to the ground. A week ago, I can look out my window and see green grass. Now, I see a lawn covered with dead leaves that are brilliant shades of red, orange, and gold. The same is true of my neighbors. Every year, every fall, the trees go through their cycle of death and rebirth. And every year, I'm reminded of Buddhism's teaching of non-attachment, about the importance of letting go, and how it's important that we let go of things in the correct way. Now, a common mistake when people first begin their Buddhist practice is thinking that we must let go of everything. If it is our attachments that cause suffering, by letting go of all of our attachments, we'll let go of all of our suffering. And while this sounds good on paper, it is in fact a Pyrrhic victory, even if we were able to pull it off. There are some attachments, like those associated with food, shelter, clothing, and medicine, that are necessary for our survival. Letting go of them would not result in enlightenment. It would only result in death. More than that, there are certain attachments that if we let them go, they will cause suffering not just for us, but also for our family and friends, making it harder for them to realize the enlightenment that we're seeking. The Buddha made this mistake in his own spiritual journey. For a while, he was an ascetic. He stopped bathing. He stopped wearing clothing. He slept outside. The sutras tell us that at one point he was eating only 1 grain of rice per day. He was so skinny and emaciated by the end of his hardships that he could poke his belly button with his finger and feel his spine. Unfortunately, at the end of Buddha's ascetic journey, he found that he was not enlightened. Rather, he was only hungry and miserable. It was at this point that he found the middle way, the middle path between the hedonism of his youth and the asceticism of his older life. Instead of letting go of everything in Buddhism, rather, we let go of some things. And we choose to use the other things skillfully. And we make that distinction by asking ourselves a very simple question. Is the suffering worth it? Is the suffering associated with this particular attachment worth all of the pain and problems I'm experiencing? Or am I better off just letting it go? Now, the answer is going to be different for every person, every place, so I can't answer that question for you. I can only encourage you to ask it of yourself multiple times throughout the day. Is this worth it? Now, there are some attachments, like those associated with drugs and alcohol, that we will find are clearly not worth it. They create so much suffering and create so little joy for ourselves and others that we are better off casting them out into the wind. There are other attachments that we simply can't let go of, like the ones I mentioned earlier: food, shelter, clothing, medicine. For these particular attachments, the Buddha tells us explicitly that we should not let them go. Rather, we should learn to work with them skillfully, because without them, we are unable to maintain our bodies, and without our bodies, we are unable to practice the Dharma. Without the Dharma, we can't realize enlightenment. Now, in addition to all of that, there is a third category, and these are the attachments that, frankly, we might decide are, in fact, worth it. For example, our pets. No one likes cleaning the litter box, and it is certainly a chore to take the dog into the backyard when it's cold or raining outside so they can do their business. But the satisfaction we get from bringing our animals joy, the happiness they bring us, for many of us, we decide that the suffering is in fact worth the attachment. So instead of letting go, we hold on tightly as best we can. When we ask ourselves this question, is it worth it? And we are honest with ourselves in the answer, we, like the trees in the fall, decide that sometimes it's better to let go. And, like the trees in the summer, sometimes we find out that it's best to hold on to our leaves because they are giving us something. They are providing our lives something that makes them richer, makes them better, that relieves the suffering of the world, even if it's only for a short time. By learning to ask ourselves this question, we learn when it's time to let go and when it's time to hold on. Amitabha.